this is I'm back after a long time away, but no Rick because Rick was feeling a little down, I guess. So we brought on Nate. You guys have a special treat with Nate and
Oh,
Chris. There you go.
substitute. I get to be the substitute today. I like that though. I like that.
Were you
Yeah,
ever a
that's fun,
substitute?
man. I don't know the last time we've actually sat down and done 714 together. It's been,
I don't have a clue. I don't
yeah,
know.
be
But
long,
for
long,
real, have you ever been a
long.
substitute teacher? That seems like a job you could do.
Me?
Yeah,
I think it would be fun for that, a day or two, and then I'd be all right with getting out of there.
I'm
But
back.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'll give me a list of things we need to get accomplished. We'll accomplish them in our own way. All right. Yeah. And then, I'll have my time to play the cool substitute and just say, yeah, I think we're good. That's all right. We're good now. I think we got enough accomplished today.
Oh yeah, you would be the cool substitute. That'd be all right.
Yeah. Well, Chris, you mentioned being gone last week at Move Camp. How talk about it? Let us know what happened, man.
Yeah. So move camp was really good. It was every time I go, I'm always like, man, is it worth all this work? And then while you're there, just so many good things happen. We have three students that accepted Christ for the first time at camp.
Woo!
We
Woo!
have four students who signed up for baptism, not all the same ones who said yes for the first time.
Oh, wow. That's
And
awesome.
yeah, and then on top of that, we had three students who stood up and said they feel like they're called to ministry. So there was definitely some.
Very
And then, of course, around the others, all the other students had their own healing of some sort, or
cool.
they just had some deep stuff they had to work through. Every student that went said it was good, and they're really glad they went. Even the leaders who were there serving the students, they even got a lot out of the week. So
Mhm.
again, it was always worth it. At the end of it, we're like, okay, you know what? We could do this again. But right before camp, I feel like I'm always like, why do I do this to myself?
It is the reminder, though. I think what you're just talking about too, just even as you work through all those individuals who experience something, I think there's times in our lives where we just continue to move on and we forget about the importance of just getting away with the Lord like that. And it's not like, and it's always interesting too, is that it's not like they're being told anything different than what they have been told over the last couple of years, right? These are the things and this is the same thing for us as we hear these things from people or whatever for throughout our regular ordinary day. But it's something about getting away and making intentional time that really, I mean, it just really stirs it up, and I think that's the power, and that is breaking away what our normal is, our comfortable, um, even getting a little bit tired, and that makes it gives a whole doorway for the Lord to work right in through there and just wreck us up, So it's good stuff. Good stuff,
Yeah,
man.
amen. Actually, so I call them dog days, a
Mm,
day away with God.
mm,
I need those every once in a while where I just spend a whole day
mm,
where I don't have the phone, I don't have work stuff, I just have my Bible, and I'm just going to let God speak. And
mm,
this was a whole week of that for the students, but it was,
mm,
yeah, no wonder he works. We're praying over them and spending that much time. It's like a mountaintop moment, really. Like
mm,
you're spending time, intentional time with God, with other Christians for a week. Yeah,
mm.
something's going to happen. So
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's good stuff. Glad to have you back. Glad to hear some of those stories, man. That's awesome. So good. I'm a benefactor of that where my daughter went and she had a great time. So
yeah,
it's
we loved having her. She was a hoot.
yeah. Yeah. Right on. Well, we could probably start getting into the word, don't you think?
Oh yeah, so we're in Nehemiah 7 today. Sounds like Brian got 6 done. I did not watch it. So sorry, Brian, I'll have to catch it up later. But here we are, Nehemiah 7. This one today, this is not an easy one to study. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's still some gold in here.
Absolutely.
We
Well,
didn't talk about who's reading. Who's reading today?
I'll read. I'm fine with that.
All right.
Yeah.
So
All right.
we'll just read till we get to the list of names, and then we're not going to embarrass ourselves.
Yes. Yeah. Very good. Sounds good. All right. Nehemiah 7. I'll be reading out of NIV, starting at verse 1. Here we go. After the wall had been rebuilt and I had set the doors in place, the gatekeepers, the musicians, and the Levites were appointed. I put in charge of Jerusalem my brother Hanani, along with Hananiah, and the commander of the citadel. because he was a man of integrity and feared God more than most people do. And I said to Jerusalem, said to them, the gates of Jerusalem are not to be opened until the sun is hot. While the gatekeepers are still on duty, have them shut the doors and bar them. Also appoint residents of Jerusalem as guards, some at their posts and some near their own houses. Now, the city was large and spacious, but there were few people in it, and the houses had not yet been rebuilt. So my God put it on my into my heart to assemble the nobles, the officials, and the common people for the registration by families. And I found the genealogical record of those who had been first to return. This is what I found written there. These are the people of the province who came up from the captivity of the exiles, whom Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had taken captive. They returned to Jerusalem and Judah, each to his own town, in company with Zerubbabel, Joshua, Nehemiah, Azariah, Ramah, Nahamani, Mordecai, Bilshan, Mispereth, Bigvai, Nahum, and Banah. This the list of men of Israel. And then it goes on into this large list of names that sounded much like the names I just read.
Oh man. That's you know what? That's what you need to do. There's your homework is just to go try to read out loud all these
Record yourself and then show everyone else.
names. Yes, exactly. That could be a TikTok trend. There you go.
There you go.
So my first response to this is like, okay, the walls are rebuilt. That's how six kind of finishes. The walls got done, and now it's time to rebuild the people.
Mm-mm,
And if we're going to be real honest, the real work was not the walls.
mm-mm,
It's what the walls do for the people. So
mm-mm,
that's what was going on there. They needed protection. They needed some security to be able to actually start doing what they needed to do to. I mean, we need that too. For us to
mm-mm,
actually connect to God on a deeper level, we need to have the distractions taken away. And when you're
mm-mm,
always looking over your shoulder and the walls are not there protecting you from the enemies that constantly hate you, yeah, it's going
mm-mm.
to be hard for you to like actually be sacrificing and doing the rituals and the things that the Jews did to connect to God.
That's good. That's such a good point too, Chris, because that's the one of the big needs that human beings need is security. It's knowing that you're safe. It's knowing that the world around you is stable. And that's what these people, these people have lived in that insecurity for their lives. I mean, these people have been there and the walls have been down. They had lived in the fear of who's lurking around the corner. When are the enemies going to come in? When am I going to have to defend myself and my family? And how am I even going to do that? And so when that security level is risen up, you're able to relax and actually dig into what's going on. I think you just like you said, we can do that, and we're built to do that. Our bodies are built to do that. We have, when we're in the fight or flight type of stuff, right? Where you're just your body, when you're under duress, does what it does to protect you, to be able to do things that you wouldn't normally do. And so when that security comes down, you need time to be able to let that down. And I think what you were alluding to is that's now when the real time begins. That's when the real work begins to happen. Um, and many times we never do that. We don't actually take that time to really work on what's going on. We just keep moving forward. We keep putting our head down and keep churning away at life because we don't have time to do that and deal with the stuff that we've got that's a mess on the inside. And so man, that's a huge piece of that. I don't, you read this and you're not even necessarily you don't think about that, but that's the reality of it though, too. Like that, of course, yeah. We have to take care of that exterior stuff, so that we can work on the interior stuff. It's much like what we do, when you think of like, what we do as a church in many ways is we try to help care for people benevolently and try to help them um, when things are a mess around them, when we're able to help people take care of some of those physical needs that are externally. We that's For us, that is just that's the opportunity to have a conversation about working on things internally.
Yeah.
wanting to open that doorway up so that we can do that because that's huge. Um, and and we're all, like you said, we all deal with that. It's all something that we have to work on, and so that was a good point.
Yeah.
Appreciate you bringing that up.
Well, actually, as you were talking, I was thinking, wow, didn't mean to tie that in, but it sounds a little bit like camp. That's what we
Yeah,
did, you know?
yeah, yeah.
They paid a fee to get to camp, but that fee covered they had a place to sleep with their friends nearby.
Mhm.
They got food every day. They didn't have to worry about breakfast, lunch, or dinner. They didn't have to make
Mhm.
nothing. They just had to show up. And as
Mhm.
long as they showed up, man, stuff happened. And so we were able to do the spiritual work.
Mhm.
I mean, like the Bible kind of separates the soul and spirit a little bit, and so like we're able to do spiritual work and a little bit of soul work
Mhm.
because we got rid of all the other stuff that they
Yeah,
were worried about. You're not even going to work. You don't have a job to do. You don't have your parents giving you chores. Like you
right.
really can just relax and
Yeah.
let's go inside and see what's happening. So that's gold. And then you said about our church, not just benevolence, but on a Sunday.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I know some people disagree with the way we do some stuff, but in all honesty, it's kind of why I fell in love with the church, is because we had a point. The reason why we did a lot of the stuff we did was to make people feel comfortable enough
Mhm.
to let the God speak. So you come in, you get your donut, you forgot breakfast, it's okay, we got it. You need coffee, we got it.
Mhm.
We got friendly faces, no letting you know you're welcome here. You're in a safe place. We have security, so you don't have to worry about that. We have a place for your kids that's also safe. We just
Mhm.
do all these things so that you can then let down your walls and let
Mhm.
God speak to you. So, man, beautiful.
Well, it's the intentionality to it, and you see it here too with Nehemiah. I mean, even at the end, as he moved on there, like knowing that it wasn't just going to stop with it doesn't stop with the walls being up. Like, no, we're going to make sure that we have people at the gates that are guarding. We're gonna make sure that we shut the doors and bar them. We're going to make sure that we do all of these things to to protect, and so that there is no necessarily no excuse to be worried about what is the danger that is coming my way. And I think that's such a key point to all of it is like it just can't happen. It just doesn't like just naturally happen. There has to be intentionality when it comes to the repair of the inside of what the walls itself. So um and that's the good point. And like even all the things that we just talked about as far as like church world and trying to do things like it has to be intentional. Because if we leave it unintentional, like just all kinds of things can just pop up and that's fine, but you're going to be distracted and you're going to, people need to be able to focus when it comes to that. So, yeah, it's good.
Yep. Oh yeah,
Good.
that's the point of it.
Yeah.
And well, and then so you just talk about putting people in charge. I wanted to make a comment about that. So the
Yeah.
people he put in charge, yeah, it says his brother, but it also says it was in charge because he was a more faithful and God-fearing man than many,
Hmm.
a person of integrity. Like this is this is something we as Christians should say that's the guy we want in charge. We should be looking for those type of people. They love God deeply and they have integrity, and we know that not just knowing that the work's going to get done, but knowing that they're actually going to care about what God thinks and care about doing it the right way.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. It's paying attention to who you follow, right? It's, who you're putting in charge of some things in your life. Like not, you can't just let anybody lead you. You need to make sure that you're the person that you're allowing to lead you, the people that you're allowing to lead you are people that you can trust, that you believe that they are doing it. So you're right, man. Like, that's such a good point that we need to be paying attention to that and even questioning that within ourselves too, to be able to, is it, are they, because you can trust. And last thing you ask for trust as a leader, but you also go, I would much rather you ask questions and get answers so that you can trust, you know, as opposed to just blindly following. Blindly following is a scary thing to do. So,
And I've been wrong before. So yeah, please ask me
oh,
questions. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I think most people, I mean, you just look around, especially in church world, when you look around and you see the devastation that happens when, leaders fall and they make poor choices and do some things that are, definitely frowned upon. the devastation that that leaves behind is, um, it's terrible. It really is. And so, um, you're not always going to have all the answers, and people are people, and they are flawed, and they're going to let you down. And the big key is just, do I know their heart? Do I have an understanding of what their heart is? Do I see what they're really trying to do? And you're not always going to have the answers to that, but you know, at some point you do have to just trust.
Yeah. Well,
Sure.
I also like that somebody's going to push me. Like
Oh yeah.
I don't want to, I was going to say, I know I'm human and I'm afraid. I'll be honest. I'm afraid that one day I could go down a path and not even know I'm on it till it's too far gone. I would love to have more people that I trust that go, "Hey, Chris, I see something in you that looks a little off. Why are you doing that? Please." Like, man,
Mhm.
that's for a leader. If I have somebody who I know cares about me and is going to do that in a loving way, which I know
Yeah.
my wife does an amazing job of it, but I also sometimes I need a guy. So
Sure.
just as a leader, I say I need that. And for you, 714 people out there, you need that too. If you don't
Mhm.
have somebody like that, you should find somebody, or even if you have a good friend, ask them, like, can you please tell me when I'm being stupid? Like, tell me when I'm being a jerk. Because I know actually a couple pastors who fell into sin.
Mhm.
And they say that because they didn't see it coming.
Right.
And nobody, unfortunately, they didn't have anybody close enough to point out that what they were doing was wrong or ask the questions so that it was brought to the light before everything exploded.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, as you're talking about that, I don't know if this is necessarily the road we imagined going down when we started reading this, but
Happy accident.
yeah, the I think um, the world is so much better place when we are willing to hold each other accountable. Excuse me. It's a much better place. Our environment is much better when we're okay with somebody being in our stuff and saying and holding us accountable, because ultimately we that part of that security that we desire to have, part of the security we as human beings we desire to have, is to know where we stand.
Yeah.
Know where we stand with people, and know or where we stand in our faith, and what's being seen. We can I know I desire that greatly. Like I love to when I get some form of feedback, like, good, bad, or otherwise. It's good to get it, just so like, oh, I just know, like, I can be confident that these people are being honest with me, and that but that's for some reason we find that so hard as mankind, to do that with one another, to be honest with one another, to uh, and I think it's our own insecurity. It has nothing to do with how we feel, because we have typically have no problem stating how we feel about how somebody's doing or what they are doing. It's well, what if somebody knows about me? Am I willing to hear that? And I think that's probably one of the greater measures for ourselves, as where we're at, where we stand maturity wise in life, is if we're going to say something to somebody, are we willing to something to be said to us? Are we willing to receive that? Um, and I can say that I want that, I desire that as a human being, but I also know what it feels like to get it. And I'm like, ugh, that doesn't feel good, and you got to work through that. But that's part of the growth process. It's part of toughening the skin up a little bit too. So, that's it's not an easy road or an easy thing to do, but this life wasn't meant to be easy.
Yeah.
Sorry if you thought it was, but it wasn't meant to be easy. It's meant to have struggle and strife and growth, and um, that's where beauty is. That's where so much beauty is found. Is in the broken pieces. And
Oh man, that'll
but
preach. I mean,
yeah.
some of the best songs, some of the best artwork is from people who are struggling, and they put that into their work,
Mhm.
like those strong feelings and emotions. So
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, right there, I could preach on that.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff. Anything else in that top portion that's really sticking out to you?
I mean, I wrote down a note that this genealogy is like 60 years old when he's reading it.
Yeah.
So that means some of these people are not around anymore, and some of them are like grandparents, great grandparents.
Sure.
But yeah, I just thought that this is an important list of and I referenced it earlier to like the Mayflower. If you go and look at the people who got off the Mayflower, we'd go, man, that's an important list to us because like we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. And they
Sure.
came to nothing. There's nothing settled. There wasn't something here for them. They had to build a fort. They had to build houses. They had to do everything. And that means hardship and it was very uncomfortable. And so for me, when I think about the people who got off the Mayflower, I think of, wow, like you really went out there on a limb, and I'm sure there was some sort of calling of God that you thought you had. These
Mhm.
people had a calling of God to come back to Jerusalem, and
Yeah.
they're like that. Like the walls are torn down. It just says many of the houses aren't even rebuilt, and the enemies are all around. We saw that through the first six chapters of this book. Like that was they came into something hard, and so there's just a respect. So when you read these names, for me, I don't know, like just a welling happens of like these people did something hard for God.
Hmm. Hmm.
They felt like God called them there. Now they didn't get the walls rebuilt. They didn't. They honestly were probably just like trying to live and not get everything destroyed that they just rebuilt.
Yeah.
But man, now think about the joy they had when Nehemiah came and helped them build that wall that now took away that little bit of anxiety, daily anxiety of like what's going to happen today. Now the wall's built, like oh, just the amount of peace that probably washed over them. How
Sure.
many years did you live in that before finally the walls are built?
Well, um, I mean, even if no one, even if nobody is still alive when this is all taking place, when this, even if even if that would simply be the case, like the appreciation for that, even, because most of they're going to have descendants that are there, there's going to be kids and grandkids that are seeing maybe some of these names and they're recognizing, wow, like, this is the fruition of the work that they put in, like what they chose to go after. And you think about that, I mean, it was a very small amount of people that came back. There's plenty of people that stayed around and lived in what they knew. Because I mean, to be honest, I mean that was the Israelite nation. That's what that their a lot of their history was wandering from place to place and
Yeah.
not having a home, not having their homeland and so you would have to settle in to wherever you were. And sometimes it was good. Sometimes it would feel better than it would be wandering. We saw that with, when Moses got the exiles out of Egypt, and
Oh man.
they started wandering through the wilderness. They just wanted to take me back to slavery. It was much more convenient there. Yeah, it was, but this is where the freedom is found. This hard work is necessary. Even if it's not for you, it's for those who come after you. And you get to see that here in this, and as you process through your life, like you think about the hard work that needs to be done for you to maybe break the chains of, the stuff that you've dealt with in your life that maybe your parents went through, your parents' parents. You hear about like these, generational things that have just continued on. And right now you're in a place where you're trying to change that for yourself and for your family. Like that hard work that you put in, that because the easy things to do, I mean, whether it's good for us or not, the comfortable thing is to stay exactly where we are, doing exactly what we've been doing. um, the hard work is changing that, and the hard work can change it for generations to come. And so when Chris and I were talking about this beforehand, I just began to start to think about what that had to feel like to find that list, of these people who showed up and they just laid it out there, and they probably didn't make a whole lot of ground up, or what seemed like a whole lot of ground up, but they laid a foundation by sticking to it and being there for the generations to follow to be able to complete the job that was at hand. And man, I I don't know. You want to, I think something that we probably have lost over time, as a middle-aged man in my life right now, I find myself being a little bit more uh, trying to honor what's come before me. You know what I mean? Like, it isn't always that way. You know, as a young buck, I probably, would like to do things my own way, and I've got better ways to do them, and not even considering what was done before, and how important that is, because there's a lot of hard work that was put into that. But so I just say all that to say, listen, if you feel like you're struggling to get through and do the things that you're supposed to be doing, don't give up on that hard work, because that hard work is meant for not just for you, but for who comes after, and doesn't matter where you are in life, it's going to make impact on people around you. So keep doing the hard work.
Yeah. Actually, so as you were speaking, I was thinking, man, so freedom, this is where freedom is found. Freedom is work, freedom is hard, but it's better. So Babylon was easier, but this is better.
Mhm.
And that's where again I could preach a message on that one too. Like, yeah, it's easier to go back. And for us Christians, I think that's so true. It's easier
Oh,
for us to go back
for
to doing
sure.
the old things the old way. It's hard to follow God. It's hard to live a Christian life, and it's hard to tell people that what they're doing is wrong when you know you're supposed to say it, and to hold people accountable. That's hard. To be held accountable is hard. Yeah, I don't. I'm not gonna lie. I remember living my life back in the college days, and it was easy. Play video games, go to the bar, horse around with my buddies. Like that was easier.
You just exist,
You
right? Like
just
that's really
exist.
what it is.
This is better. Like I'm doing something better. I'm proud of what I'm doing. Back then it wasn't there's nothing to be proud of. I was just doing stuff, surviving
Mhm.
today. Where
Mhm.
now I'm really proud of what I'm building and what my family looks like, and then honestly at camp, like what happened at camp and the lives of students that were impacted, and they're better now because of what happened.
Mhm.
So yeah, like this work is hard, but it's better.
Mhm.
Don't go back to easy. Don't give in to that temptation.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, so we could continue on and read through these names, but we're not going to, just like Chris said, because we're not going to embarrass ourselves and try to pronounce a lot of names that are spelled and pronounced in a much different way than I would name and pronounce the names of those that come after me. But it doesn't make them any less significant, just like we were talking about. These names are there to be honored. It really is. They're there to be honored, and they should be honored. Um, and so they're very, very important to the history of, well, just of all that we've been a part of. And so um, that's the importance of history and having recorded history, is that we have something to look back on and recognize that what has been done, and that the hard work that's put in, we can put that in as well. So
Yeah.
was it, did you mention there was something else that you at the end that you were like, oh, that we should read that?
So there's just a couple little snippets in the middle of this list that I noticed was
Yeah.
right there, 61 to 65. We don't really need to read through it per se, but it just talks about how there's a group of people that said they belonged to Israel, to Jerusalem,
Mm,
and they're like, you're not in the genealogy. And
mm,
because they couldn't be found in the genealogy, it says there at the end that in 64, they were excluded from the priesthood as unclean. I'm sorry, like you got to prove yourself, and because you didn't prove yourself, we're not going to go against God. So we can't let you be a priest. And I think I just wanted to add in there, like, you know what? I have respect for that. Like sometimes there's just rules there. We don't need to question the rules. I think sometimes in the New Testament it says hard stuff that we don't like, and we just need to
mhm,
be like, you know what? I don't know if I agree or if I know why, but that's the way it is. So I'm just going to move forward with it because I want to trust God. I might
mhm,
not trust the rule, but I'm going to trust God. And I just like that they held that standard of, I'm sorry, you're not in there, so we
mhm.
can't just let you be a priest. We're not going to let you defile yourself or make God angry, because when you do that, it actually hurts the whole nation.
Well,
That's
and you
very important.
especially think about them and all that they had been through and the amount of times that they had made God angry
Oh yeah.
and experiencing what that looked like. And so completely understandable as to why, like, no, we're not testing this. Like we'll test in other areas. This is not a testing place for this because I really don't want my God mad.
We just got out of exile. We just came back. I'm not, no, I
Sure.
ain't messing around. Yeah.
Sure. That's funny. Man,
Yeah.
wow.
That was all that was the one little snippet I thought, oh, you know what? That's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So I would just I would encourage you, yeah, that for over today or whatever, take an opportunity just to go through there and I don't know, maybe even there's something to be to honoring the past and just having a heart of honor as you read through them and thinking about they're obviously names with numbers on the side of them and we don't necessarily know what that even means, but those are people. Those are real human beings who really put themselves out there so that um, the for the generations to follow were going to find themselves in a space that um, was going to be better. We're coming off of a weekend where we talked about leadership and leading the way, and that's man, it's such a big deal just to think about, like even just taking those steps of faith, even though you don't maybe not feel like you're leading anyone in that you're leading someone, and people are going to be impacted by the steps of faith that you take. And these are the memories that we get to grab a hold of and see people way, 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 way before we were even thought of. So, so
Oh yeah. These are the
cool.
people God chose to set up Israel so it would be ready for Jesus. Like, think about that. There you go.
Big job.
Big
Big
job.
job.
All
Right
right.
on.
I think that's it.
Yeah. Feels good. You want to pray?
I can do that. Yeah. So here we
Sounds
go. Father, it's so good to know that we can trust you, to see what you do in our lives. I just feel so small, Lord. Thank you for all you're doing with student ministries, for all you're doing at our church. And God, I just ask that you'll help these people that come here, that they'll be blessed, that they will be able to put down their walls,
good.
that they'll be able to do the internal work that you're trying to do. Let them be able to hear you and draw close to you when they come into Life Changing Church. I also pray for all those who are listening today, the 714, that they'll be able to put some of this into practice in their own lives, that they will not forget what we talked about today, but they'll be wise and be able to find a way to put this into their lives, to make their lives better, to do the hard work. And Lord, let us always be moving forward, trying to grow, not taking the easy path, but taking the narrow path and the one that helps us become more like you, but also the one that helps us to be who we need to be for the people around us. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Good stuff.
All
Didn't
right.
see it going that way when we started today.
No,
Fantastic.
there's some extra there.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Awesome. Well, good.
Well, happy Wednesday, guys.